This is TeamMate Finder. It's a full stack platform where students can find teammates for hackathon projects and competitive programming instead of spamming in WhatsApp groups. So user can post their requirements, browser profiles, and send pitches and start chatting once they accepted the. I will quickly walk you through the backend architecture and the database flow of this project. So this is so if you talk about the whole architecture, so at a high level, we have a React frontend with Grid. So server that served through Nginx server, that connects to a NodeJS Express API. We use MySQL on AWS Relational Database Service for structured data and MongoDB Atlas for chats and Firebase for authentication. So everything is containerized with Docker and deployed on AWS Elastic Container Service fragment, as you can see in this architecture diagram. And to talk about the database connectivity, this is the whole schema we have. And in this README file of this GitHub of this project, we have mentioned all this. Guide how to use this project locally and how anyone can contribute on this project. Moving on to the coding part, the MySQL connection using a synchronized ORM object relational mapping. It pulls credential from environment variable using .env tool and connects using MySQL dilutes. Here are the several dilutes you can see. So this is the single instance is shared across the whole app. Then this is the main file you can see for the connection with front end or database or the back end. All this connection is done in this file. So this is the server.js file. So in this file we use synchronize async alter true. So what it does that tables auto update based on the models without losing data. So if we want to update any data of a user, so it will not affect the whole table. It will just update that particular column data. So this is the use of this async sync alter true. Then moving on to our next important file, that is user.js. So for the database schema, here the user models. So all these models we have defined here. So each user has a UID primary key, a unique email also mentioned here with proper validation, and the registration number, the departments, the GitHub URL, the LinkedIn URL, all these things has been mentioned in this database schema. So next, moving on to the next file, that is a very important file, that is index.js. What it does that in this file we have defined all the relationships. Like user have many ports, one to many. So as you can see here are the has many belongs to. So these are the one to many relationships in our ORM or the package to MySQL. Then we have some many to many relationship also. As you can see that belongs to many. So these are the users and skills connection relationship. Then every uses foreign key with cascade deletes. So what it does that cascade delete, what it does that if a user is removed, all the related data will go with that, means it will be removed all the related data of that user. So this is how our relationship is defined in this index.js file. Then moving on to the next thing, that is the topic of transaction, raw level locking and the transaction. So in this request controller.js, what we have done that for concurrency we use transaction with row level locking. When a user sends a request for this, so when a user sends a request, we lock the post row. So the simultaneous requests are handled and safely, and vacancy update correct. Here you can see we have mentioned the logic also, that this is how we have mentioned the whole logic. Then moving on to the authentication, Firebase authentication and middleware part. So in this file, so all routes go through the Firebase with middleware. It verifies the token, checks the user, and attaches the data to the request. So no token means no access. So here we have defined all this logic. So you can see here the try catch blocks use like authenticate all these things. Then we have admin verify token, how the token is handled, we have mentioned here. So this is how we have defined all these things. To moving on to the Docker and the cloud and DevOps part, what we have done is that we use the Docker Compose with the 3 server. So you can see here, one is the DB, one is the DB. As a DB we have used the MySQL. Then we have the server and this is a backend server, and we have the client server, the front end via Nginx, So all handles API, and also the Nginx also handles the API and the WebSocket routing. In production, this setup will run on AWS ECS fragment. So quickly flash the Nginx files. So as you can see, all this location on all the API handle has been done by the Nginx load balancer. It also acts as a load balancer. Then coming on to the one of the most important file of our project, that is the main YAML file. So what it does that GitHub action actually handles the CI/CD thing, so like continuous integration and continuous deployment. So on every pushes to the main branch, it installs dependency and builds the client. Next step would be the pushing Docker image to AWS and deploying automatically. So here you can see all these things has been mentioned in this YML file. So how, what dependency they have to install, how they build the client and all, run npm run dev, all these things has been mentioned in this CI/CD pipeline. So yeah, and for moving on to the front end side, this is all we have. The data, like you can see the whole the folder structure, the routing, and the models has been defined here. And moving on to the database part, so also we have this raw SQLs to show you the data, some of the data that let's assume that this is one of thing. So here you can see we have that all the data. Then coming on to the, we can see all the data that two, as of now we have two users in the front end. We have so this is what we have uh, defined here as a user. So this is one of the user, and another user is this is one of the user. So yeah, this is how our backend and database is connecting and working. And to talk about the client part, so this is the folder structure of our client. So we have use the component based layout, component by component, each thing. So all these things like running the front end, working front end will be explained by other teammates, Christoph and Jamaisari. So he will explain all this front end part, the demo part. Thank you.
All right, so this is our live app. So basically what happens is user signs in and using Google via Firebase OAuth. So once the authentication happens, new users go through the onboarding and existing users land directly on the dashboard. So this is our live dashboard. In the main dashboard, we have a post that appear here. So each card shows type, the required skills, vacancies, and the creator. You can filter by category or search using keywords. Then we have the option of creating a particular post. You can add the title for a particular post. So vacancies, you can show the right type of description. Also, you can suggest a skill that you are needed for this particular post. Like if you need a React developer or any developer like that. And then you publish the particular post. Then you have the options. The post gets created. Then you have the option of messages. So this is the real-time chat system, which is powered by Socket.io. And if you want to chat with this particular person, you can chat in real time by typing the indicators like hi. Then next you have the analytics of that particular user. So it shows the profile section. In the profile section, you have the last 7 days data and the experiences, the skills with options to export for the feed. You can export the same from the user's profile. So here's the export PTM and here's the QR option. The analytics dashboard provides insights like profile views, success rate, and in-demand skills. So that's what our TeamMates Finder is.